just try and get this. Ugh.
Is it not staying?
These are like, you know, when you buy something and you wish you'd spent another £5 buying something a bit better.
Yeah.
These
The actual mics are good though, aren't
the
they?
mics are amazing.
But it's just the stand.
The stands are like budget. Anyway, never mind. So scaling up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like we are doing a whole series called the Scale Up series,
Nice.
or the Scale Up season, Scale Up series. We're going to be, but we haven't actually had a discussion around specific tactics or techniques to do with scale yet. So that's kind of what this is.
Yeah.
A
And
little bit.
I'm back. I'm back on the podcast.
You're back on the pod, which is cool.
Yeah. Makes my parents think I'm famous. Great.
Does it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So scaling up. First off, like what do you think the main challenges are to scaling up? Because it is not a case of spend more money, get more results. It's
No.
not quite as simple as that, sadly.
I think the biggest kind of downfalls that we see is scaling too rapidly without the structures in place for success.
Yeah.
So just throwing, like you're saying, like throwing a bunch more money at something and thinking that your return on investment is going to be the same.
Yes.
And not thinking about, especially at the moment, like your creative and the cadence of how often you're getting creative and creative differentiation. If you're just going to have exactly the same ads, but you're just going to push more spend behind them, you're not going to scale successfully.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things with that. First off is having realistic expectations on how long it might or should take to scale.
Yeah.
Second is, do you have everything ready? And you
Yeah.
can't just do more of what you're currently doing, can you? Like, I think that's kind of what you're saying, that you have to, you can't just run the same ads at 10 times the spend.
No, you can't. And I think a lot of the accounts that we take on don't have the structure set up for scaling.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be, and you know, especially now, account structure is getting a lot more simplified. But that doesn't mean that it should be so simplified that you can't scale. So looking at your account structure and where you need to be spending, do you need to be spending in certain regions? If you allow Meta or Google to just decide, then you're probably not going to scale up in the regions that you want to.
Yeah, you'll scale up in the regions that Meta decides.
That Meta decides it's going to have the easiest conversion rate with, basically. Yeah.
Again, I think that's balance, and it's kind of forward planning and the strategy behind scale, isn't it? It's because some brands or clients, let's say like the actual route to scale is new markets.
Mm-hmm.
Some brands will be like, whatever market is returning the best,
Go for it.
spend more there, scale there first.
Yeah.
Other brands have got budgets coming in from different markets and therefore, or budget contributions coming in from different markets and therefore have to invest proportionately in each one. And that's a different approach, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the other thing with scaling an account, especially if it's, you know, scaling can be, you know, we're scaling up by 20% or we're scaling up by 200%. It varies like a lot. But one of the big things is having long-term goals to scale an account, but being panicky and making short-term decisions.
Yeah.
That is such a downfall when it comes to scaling an account.
Yeah, that's expectations, isn't it? And I think it's this, back to that very first point around, you don't just spend more money and get more results.
No.
It's not that simple. And I think part of what we're talking about, there's so much stuff that needs to be right in order to scale successfully. So you've got, everyone aligned on expectations, everyone aligned on when we think we're going to start to see results, that type of stuff. You've got to have the creative ready. You've got to have the account structure ready. The website has to be able to convert. You need stock. There's the whole business operations. You might need to relook at how your team's structured. There's so much stuff, isn't there?
The impact is so much wider than just in platform results.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen it with brands before, haven't we? Or clients that have come in and have wanted to push harder, but the stock's not been there.
Yeah.
It's simple stuff like that. And it's like, well,
We can't scale your account because your bestsellers aren't available.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's also the point around, I guess, like, is it the right time to scale? So if you look at the wider kind of picture, or the bigger picture, and you think about the last 12 months,
Yeah.
particularly in the UK, cost of living crisis, the economy hasn't been amazing. Actually, a lot of brands are looking at kind of efficiency over scale. So if you are deciding to scale, like, is it the right time to do it? And how does the environment around what you're doing kind of sit within that plan?
Yeah. And I think often when people talk about scaling at certain times of the year, people focus on Q4
Yeah, Black Friday,
as
Christmas.
well. They're like,
yeah.
oh, we'll get, it's cost of living crisis. People are very much looking for value for money. They're looking for percentages off. We'll do it in Q4. But every man and his dog is doing it in Q4.
Yep.
The cost on every single paid media platform is increased in Q4 because it is so competitive.
It's expensive. Yeah.
So should you be scaling up in Q4,
Yep.
really? Or
Yep.
should you be looking at the kind of wider USPs of your brand and
Yeah.
how you can sell at full price or at limited discount at times when other people aren't?
Yeah. So more margin, lower cost advertising,
Yeah.
chances are better.
And generally, what we see and what is a struggle with clients is they might have they might scale up in Q4, have an incredible return in that period, but if it's a subscription, the churn rate is extremely high.
Yeah.
If it's a kind of more typical like e-commerce, then the repeat purchase is super low. So
Yeah.
actually, the value of that customer, the lifetime value that you get in on sale, is
It's
so
different.
much lower than if you can get them in a period where they understand the value of what you're offering.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with pushing really hard and trying to build up some momentum behind your scaling efforts in Q4 or on sale, but it does have to be considered. Like, the bigger picture has to always be
Yeah,
considered,
no.
right? And it should be part of like a longer term plan to scale.
Absolutely, and I think that Q4 can be really pivotal for businesses,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be considered as the only time where you can do that.
Yeah, definitely.